Hello and welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest today is someone I've been dying to talk to, songwriter, artist, and my friend, Bethany Fulde. Thanks for coming to the podcast today.
No problem. Thank you so much, Israel.
So, I love your songs, and I know you have a new album coming out, but let's go back a little bit or a lot. How did you get into music?
I think it's in my blood. I really started with musical theater around my first musical theater. I was 5, and then I was in a chorus, and then I would do musical theater every year from the time I was 5 till I graduated high school, so about 18 or so. And then also through that time, I was probably about 15 or 16 when I started playing guitar. I was playing guitar and singing at church. And I was in vocal lessons, and it was always, we always had a music on in the house and on the radio, and me and my sister would, play songs and record them on the cassette tape and sing them back to our parents. And the family neighborhood would always put on these shows for all the neighborhoods. So it's just kind of literally always been surrounded. I've always been surrounded by it.
So, what did you love about musical theater? Because, most kids don't stay in stuff for that long.
Well, being in a small town probably had a lot to do with it. I grew up in Yarmouth, and there's quite a bustling theater scene there. There still is. My sister and my brother-in-law still do a lot of productions there. And so my sister and brother and I, we would live at the theater. We would do our summer camps there, and we would just run around the theater all day. And there was a whole community there of all of our friends that we would just always hang out there. So it just came never naturally. I don't remember it ever being a question of like, will I be in a musical this year? Like, it was always just like, okay, what's going on this year? It was never a second guess. I always involved with probably a little too much when I got a little older. Like I would just try and be in every club and every extracurricular activity, and I was never a sporty kid, but everything else I tried to do.
I think it takes a lot of drive to do all that,
my schoolwork probably suffered for it. But
yeah,
my schoolwork definitely suffered for it, but I loved being social, and music was always number one.
What which of those musical theater was there any standout play or character that you played over the years that you love?
Oh gosh. A lot of the stuff, when I was younger, was a lot of group choral background. One there's a couple that stand out though. One that was really fun is when I was about in grade 10 or 11, I was in Godspell, and my mom was also in it. So that was really fun because we got to do choral stuff for the first time together. And this is kind of funny, but it does stand out because it was just hilarious. We did a Mother Goose, it was a play, but it was just it was just funny. It was just like a funny Mother Goose story. And for a good chunk of the play, I was the goose. So I had a big goose outfit, and I had this beak that would open when I spoke, and I just kind of run around, and there was a costume change so I could still be in the chorus as well and sing, but that was really fun. It was pretty goofy and silly. And
okay, nice. Yeah. And you say you started playing the guitar. Did you play any other instruments? And then when did you start writing your own songs?
I'd say I started writing when I started playing guitar. I've always said I'm a singer that plays guitar because I've always played it in order to have something to write to. I used to write poetry and stuff, but I've always been a singer. So that's really why I started playing guitar. I do play piano as well, and I dabble in drums, but nothing that I wouldn't play drums live anywhere. It's just fun to do at home. But yeah, piano and guitar and vocals are my main shticks.
And then, okay, so you write songs and stuff. Did you find, was there any thread or any things that always came up in the songs you wrote?
It's been a long time now. I'd say probably an underlying theme. It would be, I speak a lot about nature, but it's not always directly about how nature affects me, but I kind of often speak in nature. So a lot of metaphors that are, surrounding the sky or water or things growing. Those themes come up a lot in my songwriting, even when that's not the point of the song at all. I just tend to use it as metaphors. I'm inspired a lot by the outdoor surroundings. So I'd say that's probably the biggest theme that's come up.
Wow.
Throughout my life.
Okay, so like you play the guitar and write your songs. You could do that solo. Did you start a band right away, or was it just you for a bit?
There's been a lot of variations. Now that I'm, in my late 30s, there's been a lot of variations of bands and stuff. When I first started writing, the only place that I was playing was at church. So I was doing a lot of, it's not my world anymore, but it was a lot of like praise and worship songs and stuff. So that's where I really started to learn chords, and friends in that, community would show me how to play chords and stuff then too. And then once I got into university, I actually have burnt on a DVD disc the first time I ever performed an open mic, and it's hilarious. Oh, nice. And but through that first performance, it was in Sackville, New Brunswick, people saw me play, and then we decided to kind of create a band from that. So that was my first time going into a studio and starting to perform with other people in any sort of like songwriting capacity. And that was in 2004. So since then I've had, lots of bands and lots of people and lots of variations. And I play by myself actually more in the last 2 years than I probably ever have. And it's not even necessarily like a nervous thing. I think it's more that, I love watching people perform together. I love people coming together for music, and I love seeing how people interact when they're playing music. And I've always loved being a part of that. Mm-hmm. And in the last, say, 10 years or 15 years, I've been really fortunate that I've gotten to be surrounded by these amazing musicians that I respect and continue to respect, and who keep wanting to play with me, which, gives me confidence that, okay, I must not be doing this terribly wrong because there's people that I know who play music so well, that, like I said, still want to play with me. So I think that, I just don't find that I'm as entertaining when I play music by myself, or maybe I'm not as entertained when I watch people, generally play by themselves. But I've just been really fortunate. I think I've just been really fortunate to, and I just, other than a few shows in the last couple of years that I've really tried to make a little more interesting when I play solo. Other than, like I said, those last couple of years, I've been mostly playing with other people. It's just a little more fun to rock and roll that way.
Okay. And then talking about the bands you've been in over the years, and these are super talented musicians that you played with, how do you decide who you play with? How do you decide who joins your band?
Well, for this project, it started off as, so now it's called Bethany, but it was called Shadow on the last EP. And when Shadow started, it was at the end of one of my other projects. And so I was just starting to write new songs and just sort of telling people that I was going to go back out there and start doing this new project called Shadow. And my bass player, his name's Thompson, he came up to me one day, and I think he saw a video that a mutual friend of ours had shared. And he said, "I see you all the time at our shows. You do that?" I said, "Yeah, I play music. That's why I'm a huge music lover. That's what I do." He said, "Man, if you ever need a bass player." And I was like, "Well, I'm actually just starting this new project, yesterday. So whatever. So I would love for you to join it." Cause I had seen him play so much jazz music and so much cool music. And he was like, "Yeah, I would love to do that." And kind of through starting to play with him, the other band members came together, because they're all jazz guys. Andrew MacKelvie and Andrew Jackson both have played saxophone and trombone together forever, longer than I've known them. And so then they started, I don't even remember the moment that I asked them. There must have been some moment at the local or something that I had asked them to join me. But really once they started playing when Casey and Andrew started playing with me about we worked it out the other day, I think it was 8 or 9 years ago with Shadow. It never stopped. They've always, I keep writing. It's just part of who I am. And they keep saying, "Show us more songs." And then they come up with these crazy horn lines and bass parts that are just, of them. I just give them the songs, songs and the chord changes, and they do everything else. So honestly, it all comes down to just me being really fortunate, and somehow in this world where these incredible musicians are excited to play my music too.
Mm. Why did you call the band Shadow when you first started?
I already kind of had an idea for the recording project, which was a double EP. Well, it's really a triple EP because the first EP was a home recording, and those 3 EPs are called The Dawn, The Dark, and The Light. So it ended up being kind of an art music project. And so I liked the idea of it being called Shadow, which reflects obviously on different lights and darks. And then having this album that's surrounded by light feelings and dark feelings and awakening after all of that as well. And then it, it was great and it came together well. But honestly, a big reason for me changing that is because when you go on Spotify or whatever and you search up Shadow, there's 3 million artists named Shadow, and my songs are called Moon and Gold Horizon, and when you look up Shadow Moon or Shadow Horizon, still there's a million things. So it was really that was really what kind of, I was like, okay, if we're going to keep doing this, we have 3 EPs out now, nobody can find us. They have to really do some deep cuts and find certain songs or certain albums to get in there. So I said, for the next project, let's change the name. And honestly, I've had so many monikers at this point. I said, you know what? Let's just go with Bethany. And there's also, different band names that are coming out with just single names, like the band Lawrence. It's a really cool new project. And that also, I was like, you know what, if they can do it, I can do it too. So, it's a funny thing because, I will have people coming up to me after a show and being like, we love Bethany. And I'm like, thank you. But I know they mean, the whole project. But
Yeah. I mean, so you knew you had to do that name change. Like, and like you said, you've had other names over the years. Like, was it difficult? How easy was it to settle on Bethany as the name of your current project?
I think it was pretty easy, actually, because I think it was pretty easy. I definitely toyed a little bit with having another band name or doing like a Bethany and the whatever. Right. But then there's times, especially in the last 2 years, like I said, where I've played solo and not played with other people, and I just wanted it to be something that I could hold my own, but obviously it's a bigger project than just me. But I wanted it to be clear that I was a songwriter, because I haven't been clear about that in many years, and I've kind of hidden behind the shroud a bit, and I'm too old to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. Okay. I want to be proud of my songs and show people that it was me doing it.
What led you to that? I don't want to say realization, but decision that, okay, it's time to put yourself out there and own it.
I do think that that not being able to find my music online with different names was really what put it into gear, because it's like, you put so much time and money and effort into making the money and time that, I want people to hear it. I want to be able to share it, and I want people to be able to just look it up and find it if they see a poster or something. So that was really kind of the kick for me.
All right, so let's talk about this new project, Handwritten Notes.
Yeah.
What's the story there, and where are you at now in the process of getting it out?
So the process now for getting it out has mostly been all the not fun stuff as a musician of, emails and timelines and trying to make people give a shit. It's hard sometimes. It's hard to make people care, especially in this world that's so quick, and everything's kind of thrown at us. So you almost have to be an annoying person throwing it at people to make them care. So that's where I'm at with now. Everything's just in my back pocket. It's been a long time coming, a few years, 2 or 3 years of getting this project together.
Wow.
the mixing and mastering, everything has been in my back pocket since the spring. And then I didn't want to launch it in the summertime. There's a million festivals, a million things. I wanted to wait for things to start settling down a bit. For everyone else, including me, because I love summer and swimming and doing all that stuff. This project, it took a long time to get together. And then when I think about the songwriting process of some of the songs, there's 2 songs specifically that I wrote a long time ago that didn't make it to other EPs or other variations of my projects. And I haven't really decided why they didn't make it before, but I have decided that now's the right time for them. And so sometimes I wonder if it's just like there's like a cohesiveness that I like to have in albums, where I think some of these songs fit now more than they did in the past. And sometimes the meanings of songs change for you, where maybe there was a time in my life where I didn't necessarily relate to those songs in the same way as I do now, or maybe I wrote them under different pretenses, but now that I've had different experiences, they mean something different to me now. And they all fit together really well. So and there's even a couple songs that I did nix from this album because I decided they didn't, even though they were recorded, they didn't fit with the sound.
What's the story behind the title of the project, Handwritten Notes?
So Handwritten Notes is going to be one of the singles. There's going to be 4 singles in total in the next few months. It's one of the singles, and that's one of the ones that I wrote a long time ago, probably 12 or 13 years ago. I wrote it in a room in a house where I was living with a bunch of other people. And that song is definitely one of those nature metaphor visual songs. And, the visual that I get when I sing the chorus is very much writing a handwritten note of all the thoughts you don't want anyone else to know you have, those depressing thoughts, the angry thoughts, the yucky thoughts, writing them all down, and then just being like, okay, they're out of me now. Crumple them up and chuck them over a bridge and let them float down to the ground where no one will ever see them again, and nothing really lives down there, including those thoughts that are now outside of your head. Wow. And I really like visuals. That's because I've used that word like 10 times talking to you, but I really love visuals, and I love things that aren't always tangible. And so I like the idea of a handwritten note being tangible and being something that's there, but everything you're writing about being kind of outside of you and maybe emotional. And so I also like, there's just so many different visuals for the words handwritten notes that work really well with, album art. And there's some photos coming out in the next couple of weeks that are, me writing and holding notes, and there's notes scattered all over the table. And so there's a mix of like it being not only the oldest, maybe closest song I have to my heart in that album, and it being one of those songs that it's like, okay, this is the time for it. But yeah, also, I love the idea of that song being the title of the album because there's just so much visuals that come with that too.
You mentioned visuals a lot. Will you have any videos for the album or?
Yeah, so there's one music video out for the song Mistakes that's directed by James Turpin. And then I have another one that's coming out on September 27th. That song is called Trouble. It's a little less, or I should say it's a little more rock and a little less kind of pop and fun feeling, a little deeper. And then I have 2 more music videos and singles coming out after the album. The album releases, October 5th, I guess. So after that, there's more to come.
Wow. October 5th is going to be the release. Will you have other bands playing on the day, or is it just Bethany the entire night?
Yeah. So that night, I guess I didn't really finish answering a question in one way, but that night there will be visuals of some sort. There's kind of a theme of handwritten notes and sparkly broken hearts, which is very much, one of my kind of themes in my song. And so I have this amazing stage decorator, and her name is Steph Zibson, and she does she does a lot of uh, fabric art, and so what she's doing for our show is having the wall at Gus is all black with this mylar. I don't know if you know what mylar is, but it's really shiny material, and shaping them into hearts and broken hearts and sticking them all over the back. And then she's made these. The only way I can describe them is broken heart disco balls. They're like all these little mirrors that she's glued onto these thick cardboard hearts, and some of them are broken. Those are going to be hanging all over the stage, and
Wow.
then there's a couple of lights that will be shining onto the mylar foam and onto the disco balls.
So
So be a
everyone.
little trippy,
Yeah,
a little trippy. And then I'm playing with a few artists. I'm playing with D. Carol Brown, who's an amazing piano player, songwriter, has a very kind of bluesy, folksy feel to her. And then we're playing with the Barrow Downs, who are a pop folk group, I suppose. I hope that they like that description. I don't know how they describe themselves, but I've known those folks for a long time too, and I've played music with a couple of them over the years in my projects. So it'll be really cool. I feel like it's a bit of a reunion for us in the Barrow Downs, as well as Minus World, who Minus World has not played a show in, I think they said the last time was 2015, and now they're back together. They're having a reunion show, and they have a whole new EP coming out in the next few months. And they do electronic, musical pop. It's orchestral. There's a backing track, and the lead singer Jupiter. They just like run around the stage and entertain everybody, and it's incredible. They sound like Freddie Mercury. It's really cool.
All right, that sounds dope. So it's gonna be October 5, the 5th of October. What time at Gus's Pub?
So the doors will open at 8:30, and then Carol's gonna start at 9.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, Bethany, it's always fun to talk to you. I can't wait to have the other songs from the Handwritten Notes when it's released, and it's gonna be easier to search for Bethany Handwritten Notes versus Shadow Handwritten
Exactly.
Notes. I'm gonna let you go with this question. So someone is listening to this show, and maybe they're like you, they've done musical theater, or they just love singing. You've done this for some time now. You have these people you trust, and they trust you. You play this music together for years and years now. What advice would you have to share, like someone that just about to start their musical career, based on the knowledge you've gained over the years?
If someone's just starting their musical career, honestly, I could say a lot of things, but right now what I feel like saying is like, I get a million no's. I get so many no's in a year, and you have to have a bit of a thick skin and not base your musical talent or your passion on other people's no's. Because if I did that, I would have quit forever ago. And I still have days where I'm like, I quit music, nobody cares, and it's not part of me. I couldn't do that because it's the other half of me, music's the other half of me. But if someone's just starting to get out there and people are saying, no, we don't have a show for you. No, you can't open up for me. No, I can't play with you. No, you can't play this festival. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it. If you have a passion for it, and in your heart that this is something that you want to do, like you just have to go for it and not let other people stop you, because it would be so easy to let other people stop you. And also remember that if you're getting those no's, that those no's are based on 1, 2, maybe 3 people that are adjudicating 500 different applications. And those 3 people aren't the world of people who could like your music.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as playing with other people, again, just it's hard. You really have to put yourself out there in a way that might make you uncomfortable. But that's part of art. I think you got to get a little uncomfortable sometimes, and you're going to hear no's, and it's really hard for artists to believe in ourselves, but you kind of have to make yourself in some way, or you won't keep going. It's a lot of time and investment, and remember your passion is first.
Wow. Just keep going. Thanks so much, Bethany. This has been fun. I can't wait to hear the album, and I know the video is coming out September 27th, and the album itself is coming out October 25th. October 5th at
October 5th.
Gus's Pub. Thank you so much for coming to the
Thank you
Sanctuary
so
today.
much. Thank you so much. It was a total pleasure.